Consider this. We are fewer than 2 months away from Election Day. Some of you may be sending in ballots even sooner than that. Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump took to the stage last night in their first and potentially only presidential debate. Here are some quick highlights of them talking about hot-button issues.
But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states.
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade.
We have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault.
Here now to recap last night's debate are CBS News campaign reporters Aaron Navarro, you see him on your left, and Libby Cathey, you see her on the right. First, I want to ask you about false statements made by former President Trump about migrants in an Ohio city. Let's quickly listen to that.
A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
We want to be crystal clear here. CBS News has confirmed this is false. Trump was fact-checked in real time at the debate. But, Libby, where is this coming from, and why did the former president feel necessary to say this out loud on stage last night?
Yes, good afternoon, Errol. As you said, this is completely false. This is misinformation. And if you've been in right-wing circles online in the past few weeks, you'll see that's where it originated from. It's been going around in kind of an echo chamber, and former President Trump took it to the debate stage last night. It stems from the city in Ohio, Springfield. It's had an influx of Haitian migrants lately, and there have been some concerns for citizens about what this means for them. But the accusation that there's any harm being done to pets is completely false. The city manager told us that, as you said. I will say I talked to some voters here in Marietta, Georgia, battleground state, who said as soon as they heard that, they knew that that wasn't correct. But this is a Trump supporter. He said he didn't blame Trump for that. He said he blames Trump's advisors for allowing him to take that misinformation to the debate stage, Errol. That's
really interesting. Trump did say that he saw it on television, but again, he was fact-checked in real time. What he said was not true. On the other side, though, Vice President Harris claimed that Trump wants to implement a national abortion ban. Now, CBS News found that specific claim to be inconclusive. Aaron, what can you tell us about that stance last night and the issue overall?
Earlier this cycle, during the Republican presidential primary, you heard President Trump float the idea of a 15 or 16-week ban. Ever since then, he has said that it is up to the states, but has not given a clear yes or no answer on if he would sign such a ban if it came to his desk. That's why you've seen the Harris campaign and Democrats argue that the fact that he cannot give an answer is evidence enough that he would support a national ban.
Now, what was also interesting last night is Trump aimed to tie Harris to what he views as the failure of the current Biden administration. But what's interesting, Libby, if you do a tally, Trump mentioned Biden multiple times. He didn't mention Harris by name other than referring to her as her or she. So was Trump effective in trying to tie Harris to what he sees as Biden's failures?
Like to think so. They would like to think he was effective in tying Kamala Harris to Joe Biden, and they think that's effective for them. They think that Biden has been weak on the economy. They bring up Afghanistan. Trump brought that on the debate stage last night. They want to tie him to Biden. But talking to voters last night, Democratic voters at a bar, they said Trump needs to remember who he's running against. And they thought it provided a great moment for Kamala Harris to say, you're running against me, not President Joe Biden. So we'll see how that strategy continues to play out.
And Aaron, the Harris campaign did publish and post a policy page. They have faced increasing criticism from the right that much of what's there is actually recycled Biden policies, and former President Trump said that last night. So fact check that for us. Where do Harris's policies overlap, and where are they different?
There are a lot of similarities, especially in terms of even their arguments. On the topic of immigration, a topic that was vulnerable for President Biden continues to be vulnerable as a topic for Vice President Harris. You saw Vice President Harris point out how Trump kind of sunk that bipartisan border bill. That was something you were hearing President Biden talk about on the campaign trail as well. In terms of economic differences, it's largely the same plan, focusing on the middle class, focusing on affordable housing. Harris did call for kind of scaling back in terms of the increase of the capital gains rate tax, about 10 to 15% less than what Biden was anticipating. But overall, their mission and the policy geared towards the middle class is pretty in line between Biden and Harris.
All right, Aaron Navarro and Libby Cathey, both of you joining us from swing states of Pennsylvania and Georgia. Thanks so much.